Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I have 3 completely original horror stories for you to fall asleep to tonight. I'm very excited to be starting this new series. So, if you have any horror stories of your own you would like to share with me, my email is in the description box below. I hope you find these stories as chilling as I do. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. It was just another Thursday at Lanco High when we went into lockdown. However, this lockdown was different from any lockdown ever done. You see, this lockdown lasted 3 whole days. I was sitting with my peers in pre-calc when it started. Pre-calc was honestly the most boring class imaginable, so when we got to stop class to go into what I thought was a lockdown drill, I was actually more hyped than anything. My classmates and I all sat smushed together in the corner while the teacher closed the blinds and locked the door. We all sat giggling and whispering to each other until the unfortunate news that it wasn't a drill was announced over the loudspeaker. We assumed it had been some active shooter, but it wasn't specified what the threat was. Students and teachers were also instructed to turn off all phones and put them into a box so as not to risk being tracked. A lot of us were hesitant and uncooperative at first, but knowing it could be a hazard to our safety to break the rules, we gave in. We lived in a state where teachers were armed, so Mr. Pat unlocked the drawer where his handgun was stored. After loading it carefully and turning on the safety, he sat in a wheelie chair in the corner next to us. The first 45 minutes we all sat pretty quietly, of course being scared, but when the hour mark hit and nothing had happened, we began to relax a bit. The setting went from scared kids all huddled in the corner to chill teenagers who ended up playing a few silent games, taking naps, and eating the leftovers we had from lunch. It ended up being a fun hangout until Melissa, a girl I kinda liked, pointed something out. "Guys, I think the sun is setting." We all got up from our corner and rushed to the blinds. "Hey," yelled Mr. Pat, "stay away from the windows." The instructions we were given were extremely strict. The reality that we were still on lockdown set back in, and we returned to our corner. If we weren't already panicky enough again, when the clock hit 8 p.m., we knew that we were experiencing something serious, and began getting really anxious. Some of us paced back and forth, chewed on eraser tips, and even silently cried in the corner. It wasn't until 10 p.m. that another girl, Caddy, stood up and had a change of mindset. It's no longer just hiding and trying to survive from whatever is out there. It's making it through however long we're gonna have to be in here for. We all nodded, agreeing that even though the situation itself was pretty scary, our only task at that moment in time was to live in a classroom for a while. Once we all came to that conclusion, we began preparing for the many hours ahead. This started off with us all putting our food in a huge pile and dividing it equally among each other. Melissa and another student named Carter set up a laundry station. Basically, a table with whatever cleaning supplies they could find, while my best friend Sam and I made a sleep area with the different pillows, blankets, and stuffed animals we found around the room. And yes, a bathroom station was also arranged. And yes, it was Grace's cubby. That night, we all had a small dinner, sprayed our clothes with Glade, and went to sleep. Mr. Pat stayed awake just in case. I expected him to fall asleep at one point, but every time I woke up, there he was, sitting, wide-eyed, looking at the door, fully alert. What started off as a fun little survival game in a classroom turned into the horrible experience of what happens when you're stranded in a room for more than 2 days. A day passed, then another, and the food was almost gone. We smelled like sweat, Febreze and Glade, with many of us breaking out into rashes. It didn't help that our shared potty cubby was overflowing with our feces. We were so focused on ourselves that we didn't even notice that Mr. Pat hadn't moved from his chair in those 3 days. "Do you think he shit himself?" Carter asked, whispering to me. "I don't know. Do you think we should try talking to him? Or has he just lost it?" "Maybe. Do you think he slept at all?" "I haven't seen him sleep," Grace chimed in. "Shut up, Grace." "I think we should see if he's alright," Melissa added. Since it was her idea, we decided that she would be the one to approach him. After slowly approaching him, she lightly tapped on his shoulder. "Mr. Pat?" she croaked. "It's all a lie," he hissed back in a hoarse croak. "You all really think we're on lockdown still? You all think it would just last 3 whole goddamn days?" "Mr. Pat, you're scaring us," Grace whimpered. "You can't experience fear anymore. It's so obvious. We're all dead." His demeanor turned from distressed to amused. For the first time in days, he stood up from his chair, cackling loudly as he did. "I can prove it. I can prove we all died in this room and we're not actually alive." With absolutely no warning, he pointed his gun at Carter and shot him in the head. We all broke out into a loud panic, screaming and running as far away as possible from Mr. Pat. "It's okay. He's not hurt. We're all already dead. We died on the very first day of lockdown. Look." Again, with no warning, he redirected his gun and shot my best friend Sam. With no regard for my own safety, I ran to my friends, whose brains were now splattered across the wall. I don't think I've ever screamed so loud my whole life. I held his lifeless body in my arms while the other students charged at our teacher. Before they could do anything, he pointed the gun at his own head and pulled the trigger. "Thank you for your patience, students. The lockdown has been lifted. You can go back to your regularly scheduled classes." The principal's voice was heard over the loudspeaker. For just a moment, we disassociated from the crime scene in our own classroom, looking around at each other and then at the loudspeaker. "What?" Melissa, with a trembling hand, reached into Mr. Pat's pocket and pulled out the door key. We all followed her to the door, watching as she did her best to unlock it. As we stepped into the hallway, we noticed all the other distraught students from the other classrooms leaving as well. Many of them covered in blood, shit, and more. They honestly looked worse than us, but our faces were all the same. They all read, "What the fuck?" Mr. Pat wasn't the only teacher who took his life. All the armed teachers had ended up losing their minds, hurting themselves and others in the process. It wasn't even a lockdown. It was a setup, an experiment at that. Schools all across the country had undergone the same thing as the rest of us, as this was a government experiment to see if teachers were able to handle the extent of worsening school threats. I'm not sure about the other schools, but at ours, none of the teachers had survived. The teachers had no idea they were even part of an experiment, just that they had to follow the strict rules. The rules being: 1. Leave all the food for the students. 2. Stay awake at all times. 3. Remain alert at all times, no matter what. It was the stupid rules they followed that killed them. When will people realize that our government doesn't care? They don't care if we die. End of story 1. I just moved into the small town of Long Grove, Wisconsin. I had been living with my parents for a while, but I was ready to start my new life working at the post office and being on my own. The transition was really difficult. especially since I was moving to a community where I didn't really know anyone, and I was towns away from my family. It would have been nice to have a significant other with me or something, but after my last boyfriend turned out to be a complete creep and stalker, I was more happy to take a break from relationships. I honestly believe I didn't need a partner to make things easier, as my neighbors alone made the move a lot less stressful by being so kind and welcoming. Well, all except for my very next door neighbor. He was secretive. He never bothered to introduce himself, and he would eerily watch me from his window as I'd go to and from work. I prayed that I wasn't experiencing another stalker situation, but as more time passed, I feared that's exactly what I was becoming victim to. Eventually, I stopped paying attention to him. I assumed he was just super socially awkward, and began enjoying my new life. I really liked the house I'd managed to get, as it was not only cute and cottagey, but also very affordable. Across the house was a large forest that honestly gave me the heebie-jeebies. It didn't help that I'd usually work late evenings and would come home at night to the eerie trees and neighbor who was most likely spying on me. I don't know how big the forest was exactly, but let's just say, if anyone were to decide to kill me, it wouldn't be so hard to find a place to hide my body. One night, I had worked extra late. It was probably almost midnight when I had finally pulled up outside my house. To say I was tired would be an understatement. I was unbelievably exhausted and was struggling to keep my eyes open. I hadn't slept much the night before because of all the screeching coming from the forest. I'm pretty sure it was just coyotes or something. Whatever it was, it kept me up. Now here I was, slipping in and out of sleep in my car. Not even the strange howling or other noises coming from the woods were able to keep me awake. I decided it wouldn't hurt to rest my head on the steering wheel for a bit. A little bit, however, turned out to be a lot longer. I woke up the next morning, not in my car, but in my own bed. I jolted up from my covers, my heart pounding from the realization that someone had moved me. Immediately, I knew who it was. My stalking neighbor. I felt disgusted knowing that he had had his hands on me, and that he had been in my house, in my room. Unfortunately, I didn't have any proof that it was him, so I couldn't file a police report. Not yet, anyway. I don't know what I was thinking, but I began storming my way over to his house. I was going to confront him about his weird behavior once and for all. I pounded on his door, and within a few seconds, he opened it, glaring at me. "Can I help you?" he grumbled. "I'm gonna say this once, so you better listen up," I said, scolding him. "I know you were the one to bring me into my house last night. I'm tired of you watching me and acting all stalkerish. I'll have you know I'm going to be filing a restraining order." Before I could continue laying into him, he interrupted. "You don't belong here. You're careless and uncautious. It's best if you move and never come back." He tried closing the door, but I was quick to stop it with my foot. "You have no right to tell me what to do. And you have no right to be here. You don't understand this town. You don't know what we have to deal with." I looked at him puzzled. "What are you talking about?" He looked past me into the woods before answering. "I don't want to talk about it out here. If you want to know, come inside." "Excuse me?" I scoffed. "Here," he said, handing me a pocket knife. "If I try to pull anything, you can stab me. Just get inside. I can prove I'm not a creep." I accepted the pocket knife and cautiously followed him inside. I tagged behind him as he walked up the stairs, turning into one of the rooms in the hallway. Inside, the room was filled with cameras, along with drawings and notes on the wall. They weren't drawings of me, however, but a long, slender, white figure. "What is all of this?" I asked. "There's too much to explain. Just come look at the footage." I walked over to the camera he was pointing at. This camera was pointed right at my car. "What the hell?" I exclaimed. "So you are spying on me." "Not on you. It. Just watch." He rewinded and pressed play on the footage. Although the quality wasn't the best, I could tell that this was about the time I had fallen asleep in my car. He fast-forwarded a few seconds, but stopped when something could be seen coming out of the woods. It was the slender, pale creature from his drawings. I watched as the creature slowly crawled up to my car, peeking in through my window to observe me. When it realized I was asleep, it silently opened my passenger door and began reaching towards me with its long arm. Even knowing it was a video of the past, my heart still pounded in my chest. Before the thing could grab onto me, it jolted its head in the direction of the camera. Sensing something, it quickly retreated back into the woods. My neighbor then paused the video. It was me that it sensed. I ran out of the house only a few seconds later to get you. That's why I brought you inside. I haven't been watching or spying on you. This thing has been spotted all around town. We don't know what it is or what it wants, but it can't be anything good. That's why you have to leave. You don't know how to deal with it like we do. This isn't the first time I've seen it around your house. I have cameras all over the place, and I've caught it looking through your windows, sitting on your porch. This thing, it's taken an interest in specifically you." I stumbled back. It was too much information to get all at once. "You don't know what it is?" I whimpered. "None of us do. We've been dealing with it for years. It's the reason why so many people move in and move out just as fast. It's the reason why the houses are so cheap. It only managed to get a few of the townspeople, but it hasn't happened in years." "How did they get taken?" Before he could answer, the sound of the back door opening was heard throughout the house. "He's inside." End of story 2. We all have that weird family member. Okay, maybe not everyone, but I sure do. That person would be my cousin, Frank. In simple terms, he's a freak. He wasn't always a freak, or at least that's what I think, but recently he has just been a straight creep. I'm not sure why he does what he does, but I assume he just gets a thrill from it all. My whole family spends every January at our large shared cabin in the woods to celebrate the new year together. That includes myself, Mom, Dad, my uncle, and their kids, which, of course, include their precious little Frank. I never had a problem staying in the family cabin with him until this specific trip. It was January 2024, and the tradition of spending our time at the winter cabin came through once again. The cabin was very big and had many rooms. The kids' rooms were all connected together, walls separating each room, but there was a door on every wall that led into the next room. It was just a weird design choice that we all had to put up with. We never really used those side doors, so as not to invade the privacy of each other. Technically, Frank never invaded my privacy. He just ended up using the doors in different ways. It was one of the first nights at the cabin. I was trying my best to fall asleep, but the excitement of knowing I was going to ski the next day was keeping me up. I think it was 11 p.m. when I began hearing whispers coming from the other side of the door, the one that separated me from Frank's room. Psst. I see you. I smell you. I'm coming for you. I rolled over to face Frank's door. Shut up and go to sleep. You're not funny. That seemed to shut him up for the rest of the night. But the same thing happened the very next night. Only this time, he said even creepier things. It was 11 p.m. once again, and this time I couldn't sleep due to a foul odor that was flooding into my room. I assumed one of my cousins was perhaps having some stomach issues, but I didn't know for sure. My focus was taken off the nasty smell when the whispering began again. Psst. Hey, buddy. Do you like me? I like you. I'm gonna smell you. Do you mind if I take a little nibble? I can see you. Hey, I said I can see you. Frank, I yell. I'm going to tell your mom if you don't shut up. Pretty little silly, come here. Hey, come here to me. You should come inside. You should come inside. You should come inside. I rolled over to face the door. If I come in there, I'm beating your ass. You hear? That seemed to shut him up. I'd had enough and decided to bring it up to my parents the next day at breakfast. Mom, Dad, Frank is whispering weird things to me through this door at night. I am not, he said. He's lying, Mom. Oh, please. I have to tell you to shut up every night. I know it's you because it's coming from the left side door in my room. My aunt looked at me with a puzzled expression. The left side? She asked. There's not a room on your left side. Yes, there is. I'll show you. I grabbed her hand and led her into my room. This door, I said, pointing to the door that was in fact on my left side. That door doesn't lead to Frank's room, dear. His room is on your right side. No, I argued. I know because I hear the whispering coming from this door. Look. I opened the door. To my surprise, however, I saw it didn't lead to Frank's room. Instead, it was a closet. What? That's not possible. I hear whispering coming from this door each night. Before my aunt was able to respond, a deathly smell filled both of our noses, causing us to take a step back. Holy, she exclaimed. It smells like a dead body. Despite the awful smell, I was determined to figure out what could possibly be hiding in this closet, and I walked inside. At the back of the closet, I noticed a large rip in the wallpaper. Pulling it back, a large, human-sized hole revealed itself. I dove down to see what was inside. The smell was now almost unbearable, but the sight before me was even worse. Animal carcasses were scattered everywhere, as well as fecal matter in every corner. It was too big to be an animal. It was human feces. Auntie, I whimpered. I think someone's living in our walls. At the very same moment, I heard a snicker coming from the right side. I turned my head and found myself face to face with a sickly, haunting-looking man. I let out a blood-curdling scream before dashing out of the closet. There's a man in the walls. There's a man. My aunt didn't need any convincing, and the both of us ran as fast as we could out of the room. Within seconds, we had the whole family booking it to the car as fast as we could. I couldn't help but look back at the cabin. In the window of my room, I saw the outline of the man staring at us. When the police finally investigated, There was no sign of the man anywhere. We haven't visited the cabin since that day. Thank you all for watching and listening to this new series. I'll be telling more of these horror stories in the future, and you can also keep expecting movie and series reviews. My email is in the description below if you have any recommendations or if you have any stories to tell. One last thing, rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness. Your influence in music and horror will continue for generations to come. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Memento Mori and sweet dreams. Good night.